once again, hello to everybody. It's a pleasure to be connected with you today, and thank you for being part of the GEF Global Biodiversity Framework Early Action Support Project. The topic of today's webinar is on using the online reporting tool for national target submission. And my name is Alexis Le Gigon. I work as an environmental technical analyst working at UNDP and specifically working on the Early Action Support Project. And I will be facilitating today's session. Just in a few words, this webinar today is aimed at introducing you to the features and the functionalities of the CBD online reporting tool, also called the ORT, which serves as the central platform for submitting national targets and making it an essential component of the reporting process under the Convention on Biological Diversity. And just to note that the development of this tool as the designated modality for submitting national reports was driven by CBD decision 15.6, which you are, I'm sure, all familiar with by now, and which also requests parties to submit updated national targets through the tool ahead of the 16th Conference of the Parties this October. And so we're just 6 weeks or so away from COP, and I'm sure that many of you have questions about target submission and the tool itself. So this is why we're here today. On the next slide, so I wanted to cover some basic but important logistical highlights. So simultaneous interpretation is available for this webinar in French, Spanish, and Russian. And thanks so much to our interpretation team for being with us today. It's of course highly appreciated. And to activate interpretation, I think you know, but I'll just remind everyone, you just have to click on the little world icon at the bottom of your screen and then choose your preferred language. And we suggest you that you choose just one channel and stay on it for the duration of the session, just to avoid any technical issues on your end. And I would also like to recommend speakers and participants, if possible, to maybe speak a little bit more slowly, just to facilitate the work of our interpreters team and just to facilitate also the overall flow of the conversation. Also, if you have any technical issues, to help you resolve them, you can send a private message on Zoom to my colleague Martina Kenitz. And finally, and thanks Martina for a quick message in the chat, I also wanted to mention that we will publish a webinar webpage on the NBSAP forum, where we will make available today's presentations and the recordings in each of the languages. And we will also share the information with you by email after the webinar concludes. And also to access the previous webinar sessions under the EAS project, you can also navigate the NBSAP forum webpage. And Martina, I think, will drop also a link in the chat. On the next slide, if we can. So the session will be led by representatives from the Secretariat of the CBD, who will provide a comprehensive demonstration of the tool. The presentations will include step-by-step guidance on how to submit national biodiversity targets and indicators, along with an overview of the key benefits using the tool. So the session will be divided into 2 parts. The first part will focus on presenting a first set of functionalities, such as user roles, publishing process, and the menu navigation, and also guidance on how to complete Annex 1, Part 1 of the Decision 15.6. And it will be followed by a Q&A session to allow you to clarify anything. And then the second part of the demonstration will focus on guidance to complete Annex 1, Part 2. We'll also provide guidance on the target dashboard and analyzer and information on how to get support. And similarly, we will have a second Q&A for you to ask any questions. All right, but before we start, I wanted to give the floor to my colleague, Christina Supples, who is a senior project manager working on the Early Action Support Project and who will provide some quick remarks. So Chrissy, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Alexi, and thank you everyone for joining us today. I'll quickly hand it over to my colleagues to get started with the content and begin sharing information on the CBD online reporting tool, or ORT, as it's commonly called. But first, I just wanted to emphasize why this webinar is so important. As you likely recall, at COP15, parties to the CBD committed to submitting their updated NBSAPs and, where not possible, updated and aligned national targets with the GBF ahead of COP16, which is now fast approaching and about a month away. The CBD online reporting tool serves as a central platform for submitting the national targets and national reports, making it an essential component of the reporting process ahead of COP16, and it's also a platform that parties agreed to use. We're now just 1 month away from the deadline, and we're already seeing over 60 parties submitting updated national targets through the CBD online reporting tool, for a total of 1,722 new targets. Congratulations to all of you who have contributed to. Under the GEF Early Action, we want to continue building on the momentum to ensure that all parties are equipped with the necessary understanding of the online reporting tool to be in a position to submit their national targets in advance of COP16. So during this webinar, we highly encourage you to participate in the question and answer session to clarify any questions you might have with our CBD colleagues, who are all experts. Our hope is that through this webinar, you'll be well equipped to navigate the tool and fulfill the reporting obligations effectively ahead of COP16. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chrissy, for the words and the important reminders. With that, I think now we can jump into the actual demonstration of the online reporting tool. So I'd like to now hand it over to my colleague, Blaise Fonseca, who works as an information systems officer at the Secretariat of the CBD, to provide the demonstration. So Blaise, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'll start sharing my screen. Alexis, I'm not able to share my screen.
Just give me a second. I'll just make sure you're co-host. Okay, give me a minute. Apologies for that. You should be able to now to share your screen.
Yeah, can you confirm if you are able to see my screen?
Yep, we see it great and we hear you well. Thank you.
Okay, good. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Before we start with the demonstration, I just want to highlight how to access the online reporting tool. So the easiest way to access the online reporting tool is now to go to the CBD site, and then if you scroll down to the footer section, you will be there are quick links, and you should be able to see the online reporting tool link, and that's the easiest way to navigate to the tool. You'll also see this particular link on the NBSAP page under the CBD website, or if you also are familiar with the CHM tool. For the demo purpose, I'm going to use the test website that we have hosted. Some of you might have used it, as we had invited parties to do some rounds of testing. But I just want to mention that this website should not be used by you for submitting any of your country information. If you're submitting any of the national targets, please make sure that you are on the live website, which is ort.cbd.int. And for today, I will be on the test site, which is ort.cbddev.xyz. So just please make sure that when you are submitting this information, you are not on this website. Some basic information about this ORT tool is the ORT tool is divided into two sections. The first section is the section that can be accessed by anybody in the world. You do not need an account or need to log in to view this information. So which are what are these menus that you can access without login is, for example, the home page of the ORT. Then we have a search page where you can see all the published national targets that have been submitted by various countries. So these are the links that you do not have to log in. But then there are second part of the ORT is where you have to log in and you have to have certain roles in order to submit certain information. And those menus are only accessible to users from your country. And we will go to each of those menus in a moment. Uh, the online reporting tool is accessible, is available in all 61 languages. So once you are on the ORT, you can choose the language of your preference from the language drop-down menu and select the language you wish to have the ORT available in. So for demo purpose, I will switch to French, and then you'll see instantly the system changed to the French language. Uh, so so we'll start with the home page. The home page has some basic information, like the latest information that has latest activities that have been happening on the ORT. So who submitted, how many, which countries have submitted, how many records. And various small number of this very small number of information, like who has submitted any NBSAP, how many countries have done that, and any of the latest records that have been submitted. You can get an overview on the home page. So once so the next step that we can do is we can log into the system. So I will choose the login session. I'll switch to English so that I can read all the menus. So the next thing you can do is log into the system. So I will sign in. This will take you to the logins section. You log in with your user and password. If you're not registered with the CBD account, you can sign up. And once you sign up, either you can request your focal point to assign you a necessary role, or you can ask your focal point to send us an email requesting you to requesting us to nominate you as authorized user to access the ORT. So once I log in, you will notice that there is a new section that appears on the home page. This is some basic profile information that is made available to you, like your name and email address. But there are two main properties that you should verify when you log into the ORT for the first time. And these two properties are very important in order to access some of the information of the ORT. So the first one is the country affiliation. So the country affiliation uh, is necessary. So that tells you that this is the country that you are presenting, and this is the country for which you are submitting the national targets. So this is very important. And also the second thing that is important is the roles. You need to have either of the three roles: a national focal point, a publishing authority, or a national authorized user. If you do not have any of these two properties, then you'll not be able to have access to the national target section, and you'll not be able to submit any information for your country. Now, what are these three roles? So national focal point is the focal point who represents your country, who is nominated to the CBD to the convention. And there is a separate process for these nominations. The country has to submit certain documents, I think some note verbal, specifying that this is the person who will be the national focal point for this country. Once that process is verified and done, the information about that national focal point is added to our national focal point database. Once that's done, the online system automatically creates an user account for the national focal point and also grants him access to the online reporting tool. So the national focal point automatically gets access to the online reporting tool. So in case if you are a national focal point, then you should already have access to the tool. Sometimes some countries, the national focal points do not designate the responsibilities to publish the information to their colleagues, but they are not national focal points. So in that case, the designated person who has access and has responsibility to publish the information gets a role called publishing authority. So a national focal point is also a publishing authority. However, he can designate other user who can be of publishing authority and who has access to who has rights to publish all the information. Further down, the publishing authority can also nominate more users who have access to the online reporting tool, but they only have limited access, meaning that they can draft information and submit a request to the publishing authority to publish the information. Any information that they have created, that is not made public until the publishing authority or the national focal point approves it. And you can have multiple national authorized users that can represent a country. And to nominate such users, you do not need to contact the secretariat, but the national focal point can do it by himself using the online reporting tool, which you can do using by clicking on the national users link on the top of the section. This will take you to CHM, where you will be able to see all the national users that represent your country and the roles that have been assigned to them. In case if you have a user that you want to nominate, if he's not in the list, you can click on the add authorized user. It's a very simple wizard kind of UI where you will be able to enter the email address, some details of the user, and grant him the national authorized user role. Once that's done, the user will be notified by email, and then once he logs in, he will have access to the online reporting tool. In case if you have any issues, we have created an step-by-step guide uh, on how to nominate the user. That can be found under the help section. That was my test site. So the under the help section, there is an article called adding a national authorized user in CHM. So this is a very simple step-by-step guide that you can use, and it's very easy to use if you want to nominate more users to the online reporting tool. Then we go back to the dashboard. So the next thing I want to show you is the menus. We have focused on the navigation a lot because the online reporting tool has many complex features that you will be going inside a big hierarchy. We have focused and tried to make it more easy for users to navigate easily. So all the menus that you see on the top and the left-hand side are always visible, no matter where you are. So as you navigate, you will always see this menu, so that in case if you want to exit that particular page and then just want to go to a different page, it's easier for you to go. So you will see there is an top navigation bar, which is the main headers. Then we have the left-hand side menus, which have more options for you to navigate. And we also have breadcrumbs so that you know exactly where you are under the online reporting tool. And then you can also use the breadcrumb to navigate out of the pages. Similarly, you have menus, and we have tried to make the menus as similar as possible, so there is no confusion. So you'll find similar menus. The 7 National Report is not yet published, it's not yet live. However, you'll see similar kind of menu system in all the main menus that we have. So NBSAP, National Targets, 7 National Report, it follows the same structure to avoid confusion for the users. So with this, I come to the end of the first section. We'll break for if there are any questions, mainly related to the user nomination and roles. If not, then we can get to the next section. Alexis?
Yep, thanks so much, Blaise. Let's see, does anybody have any questions on what Blaise just presented? You can, of course, share a question directly in the chat, or just, raise your hand or and take the floor. Please go ahead. It's your chance to interact directly with the experts on the. I see that I don't know. Do we have any question? I don't see any question for the moment in the chat. Let's give it a few seconds for people to collect their thoughts, maybe. Okay, I see Carlos is saying everything is clear. That's a great sign. Thanks. Let's see. Okay, I don't see any question, Blaise, so I think maybe you want to proceed?
Yeah, sure. Okay, that's good. So the next thing that we will go through is the how to submit the national targets. Before we get into that national target, like I explained, we have 3 different roles. The national focal point, who is also the publishing authority, and then we have a national authorized user. This national authorized users, they only have drafting rights. They do not have rights to publish that information. So whenever they create any information, they have to submit a request for the draft to be published by the national focal point, and then the national focal point will decide if the information is good or not, and if he agrees to the information, he will either approve the information or he has the option to reject the information. So if he approves the information, then the information will be made immediately public, and users around the world will be able to access that information. If he decides to reject the information, reject the request, if he rejects the information, then the system will uh, send back the information to draft mode, notify the national authorized user that the national focal point has rejected the information, and he will be then able to add any information that might be missing, and then follow the process again of submitting the information to the focal point, and then again the focal point decides if he approves or reject, and then you follow the same cycle again. So like I mentioned, we have 2 types of menus. One is the public menu, and one is the authorized access only menus. So when we go to the national target section, we have 2 menus here, all national targets. So this is the public menu, which can be accessed by anybody. And then we have my country targets. Now, my country targets is a unique space created for each country. And this space is only accessible by authorized users of a country. So nobody else has access to this space. So any information that you create under this space will not be visible to anybody else until the focal point or the publishing authority decides to publish. Once he publishes that information will be available under the all national targets section. And To access these My Country targets, it's important that you have a country affiliation and one of the three roles that I mentioned in my previous presentation. So once we go under the My Country's targets, we have three menus. We'll start with the part 1 and part 2. So as you're familiar with the COP decision 15/6, the template of the national target is divided into two parts. The part 1 deals with the national target template itself, and the part 2 deals with the national mapping with the global targets. So we'll start with the part 1. So the part 1, once you click on the part 1 section, you get a list of all the national targets that your country has either published or any of your or if you have created draft records. So now for many of you, maybe the screen is empty because your country has not created any records, but because this is my test account, I have few records that have been already published. So here you get an overview of how many records that are published by your country. If there are any records that are in draft mode, excuse me, and if there are any records which are in request mode. So what is this requested mode? Is when there is a national authorized user who has created draft information and has submitted a request to the focal point. In that case, that number, the number under requested will go up depending on the number of national targets the national authorized user has submitted. We have also added some filters for easy navigation for users because sometimes some countries have a lot of national targets. For example, Hungary has 70 plus national targets, so the navigation will be different. Similarly, most of the countries, they will have 20 plus national targets. In that case, it will be difficult to navigate. So we have tried to add filters. You can filter by national targets, for example. So if you select any of the global target from the global targets filter, the system will filter all the national targets which are aligned with the global targets that you just selected. So here we see I selected target 2. So it just gives me 2 targets which are aligned with by 2 of my national targets. In the next section, we have the grid, which shows all the national targets. So these are the titles of our targets and the global goals or targets that your national target is aligned with. So this is the list of all the global targets that our national target is aligned with. The status of the record, if it's published, draft or request, and the person who last updated it. We have some action buttons here. If you want to just see the information, you click on view. If you want to edit the information or if you wish to delete the national target. So now we'll start with submitting a new national target. For that, you click on the submit new target. I'll change my language to French to just show another feature. So once I click on submit new national target, you are redirected to the submission form of national target. The form represents exactly the same template that has been adopted under COP decision 15/6. The first section that we have is the introduction. This is basically some annex information that's part of the COP decision 15/6 in case if you want to refer some of the information. Then we have the submission form. This is the edit form where you'll be able to provide information. Then we have the review. This will, once you click it, this will provide you 2 types of information. The first information will be if you're missing any mandatory information, the system will highlight that for you. So these are the mandatory fields that are missing in our template, so we need to provide them. It is not mandatory to provide them all information at once. I can provide some information. I can click on Save Draft, and I can go back and then maybe come back later. And then when I have the remaining information, I can provide the missing information. However, it's important when you're ready to publish all the national targets, it's important that you provide all the mandatory fields. If you're not able, if you're not providing all these mandatory fields, you'll not be able to proceed with the publishing function. So it's very important that you provide all the mandatory fields before you decide to publish all the information. And then the second thing that this review section shows you is how your national target will look like once you publish this information. So this is a read-only view, and it will show all the information that you have provided in the national target. A nice thing about these errors is like once you click on the error, it will automatically scroll to the field that is missing. It's highlighted in red. We have also highlighted a big border in red so that the users know which fields are mandatory. So, then with we'll start with entering some of the information. The first thing that you see is the government. So this is not editable, but this is just provided for your information. The country that you're providing this information for, this is disabled and cannot be modified. The next thing is the language of the submission. So you have the option to provide information in any of the 6 UN languages. You can select more than 1 UN languages. Uh, Once you select multiple UN languages, the system will multiply all the text boxes that you see, for example, the title, so that you can provide information in all those languages. So for example, if I select French and Spanish, you'll see that the system now has title in French and Spanish. Similarly, if your country does not speak any of the UN official languages, and you wish to provide information in one of in your national language, then we have provided the option. You can answer the this question, answer yes to this question that you wish to provide information in other languages. Once you select yes, the system will provide you with a drop-down list. This is 170 plus languages that you are provided. You can select any of your language that you wish to provide this information in. And once you select it, the same thing happens. The system provides you an additional text box so that you can enter that information in that language. Now, it is not mandatory to provide, even though if you have selected the language, it is not mandatory to provide information in that language. However, it is mandatory to provide information in at least one UN language. So now that we have selected French, Spanish, and Bhutani, you can just select add information in French and then ignore the information in other languages. So it's not mandatory to provide all information in all selected languages. And another good thing about this is the system will remember your preferences. So let's say that you select these languages, and next time when you come to add the new national target, since we have selected these 3 languages, the system will remember your preference and then pre-populate these languages for you, so that you do not have to reselect those languages again. I'll quickly show a demo of that. So we are exiting this page and we haven't even saved any draft information. Then I say I want to submit a national target. Once I click on save submit national target, the system pre-populated the options that we had previously selected. So we are going to say no for the demo purpose and just select one language for the demo. I am going to switch. So you see now here that the template is all in French, French language, but I will switch to English so that I can. And then I select English and remove French. Right. So the next thing that's mandatory is the title of the national target. That is mandatory. So this is a free text that you can enter. based on what the title of your national target is. I will just enter some information in the title. So this is my title of my national target. Then we come across this types of text boxes that you will see next to most of the fields. This is what we call a rich text editor. You might be familiar with this if you're using the Word documents, where you are able to create paragraphs or bold italic information or any bulleted list. You are also able to create tables, or if you want to upload images, the system also lets you do that. Uh, Also, another good thing about this particular box is you can copy paste information from a Word file, and the system will try to retain the formatting that you have in the Word file. For example, uh, I hope you see my screen. I have a Word file and have some information in the Word file. You'll see how the title is in bold and it's in middle align, and then there is some paragraph text. So I will try to copy the text. Say copy. Then I come to description, or maybe I just come to outline main policy measures. I right click and I say paste. So now, if you see, the system tried as much possible to retain the formatting. The title is bold and is center aligned, and the text and his also has written some of the bulleted points, the numbering uh, of the uh, of the text that we had in the Word file. So the system will, it's not 100% because it's not a Word document, but it will try to retain as much as formatting as possible. Uh, you can also upload images. So for example, if we wish to upload an image right here after this text, all you can do is, I have some images in my folder here. I can select the image and I can just drag and drop the image here. Once you drag the image, the system will upload the image to our server and then make it available on your text box. Then you can do some kind of formatting if you wish to. You can resize the image. For example, I'm going to do resize, and then maybe I'm going to say I want to align it on the right side. So you see how it's able to make visualize the text with an image and then align it however you wish to, whichever side you wish to. And finally, another thing that I would like to show is you can also upload documents. So for example, if you have some text and if you want to complement the text with some kind of attachment that you wish the users to read, you can again do so by dragging and dropping. I have a PDF file. I can just drag the file to the next to the text I wish to create, upload the document. Once you upload drag the file, you will see the system uploaded the document and just created a link to the document. And the link of the document is the name of the file that was just uploaded. However, you can, if you wish to change the name, you can do so by modifying the text. So you have this similar kind of text boxes in most of the fields. You'll see them all over the place wherever there is a free text information available. So then we come to the next important section, which is like the most important section is the alignment. So once you have submitted information on your national target, you are required to align your national target with one of the global targets. You can also select one of the global goals. If the national target is contributing to one of the goal, you can select one or more global goals. So here I will select global A and maybe global goal B. Then this is a mandatory field, the global targets, alignment with the global targets. Here we get a list of all 23 global targets. you can select any of the global targets you wish to. Again, this is one or more global targets you can align with. I'm going to select target 6 and target 11. And then in case if you do not like to scroll through a drop down, but you like to see the list on the screen, you can use the list target button. This will show you all the list. And then you can select the target you wish to align it with. And then just close it, and then the system will pre-select the targets that you have selected in the field. So once you align your national target with the global target, the system makes available a degree of alignment section where you are able to provide a degree of alignment for each of the global targets that you have selected. So we have selected 4 global targets. So we now have to provide degree of alignment for all 4 targets. This is not a mandatory field. However, you can choose to provide a degree of alignment wherever the information is available. So in this case, I'm going to select randomly some degree of alignment for 2 of my global targets. And then I can move forward. So we will not go through each of the fields because they represent exactly what has been adopted in the global targets. But then I will like to highlight the next important section is the indicators. So under the indicators, here you will notice that under the globe headline indicators and the binary indicators,
If I may
they
interrupt you,
are
please.
pre-populated for you. There is no selection box here. That means they are automatically linked with your national target. So these are the headline indicators that fall under the global targets or global goals that you have linked with your national targets. Right,
Blaise,
but
may I interrupt you for a quick second? I just want to make sure that we also get to that we have enough time for the second part of your presentation, and make sure wanted to see if maybe we should allow some time for Q&A to see if there is any question. Would you be okay with?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm almost at the end of the
Okay.
section here.
Okay.
So
Sorry. Go ahead. Okay.
So after this, we have the component and complementary indicator, where you can select from the list. You can select one or more, and then in case if the other national indicators, if your country has any national indicators that you wish to, you can provide. It's a free text. You can provide the text. And you'll see like the system automatically makes you another text box available, so you can add as many indicators as you like. So with this, we come to the end of the national target. You have the option to save draft. You can also export the national target in a PDF, or if you wish to print it. And then you always can see how the information will look like at the end, a preview how the information looks like. So once we close this information, the system redirects you to the list page where you are able to see the draft information and the indicators that the global targets that you have linked the the national target with. Then once we finish with national part 1, entering all the national targets, we go to part 2. So this is national mapping with the global targets. Here you will see all the global targets for which you have submitted a national target. So this is a list of all the global targets, and you will be able to provide the national mapping. So what's inside this national mapping is
Hey, Blaise,
yes.
let's pause before we start part 2 here, and
Okay.
maybe open the floor for some questions. And Jillian also wanted to make an intervention. So maybe Alexi, back to you if you want to moderate if there's any questions at this point before then we jump into part 2.
Okay, thank you so much, Ray, and thanks so much, Blaise, for the demo so far. I'm just realizing I missed a comment from Aristophanes, who mentioned, it's not a question but a comment, who mentioned that the person had issues accessing the account. I wonder if Aristophanes, you would like to expand maybe a little more on the issues that you're having. I'm guessing that I mean, your issues, you know, I mean, some other people might be experiencing the same problem. So in case you would like to take the floor or expand a little more there, that might be useful. Let's see.
Yes, Alex, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Yes, I had an experience. I had to change my email because someone also had my password. So I changed. I'm using now. I had to upload a new email and change the password. But now I cannot access to the link to upload the report or the national targets. Is giving me error.
If you send me your email address, I will check your roles and then I can connect with you offline and we'll try to fix that issue. But generally, if you updated your excuse me, updated your email on the same profile, then the roles that you had on your previous account will be carry forward your new email address. But in case if you can send me your old email and the new email, I will verify and then I will let you know about what's wrong.
Yeah, even yesterday, Blaise, I sent you an email asking your assistance on that issue.
Okay, from Angola?
Yes, from Angola.
Okay, I will respond to you. I have your details. I will respond to you today.
Oh, okay, thank you, Blaise. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, both. We have two more questions in the chat that were answered by Ray already, but I think Blaise, you might not have access to the chat. I see that Dario Luque from Panama is asking that when the national authorized users are registered, they accumulate over time, and sometimes when the government changes they change also the focal points. And so then the authorized users, but in the portal, you can still see all the previous users from previous, government officials. So I think Dario is asking, how do you delete previous users? I see that Ray, you jumped in. I wonder if you'd like to provide some more clarifications there.
Yes, so
Thanks, Alexis. Yeah, Blaise is showing. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Blaise, and you're gonna show how they could do it by themselves anyway. Please go ahead.
yes. Yeah, so once the new national focal point comes on board, it is recommended that he navigates to the national users section on CHM, where he will be able to see all the nominated users from your government. If he sees any of the users are no longer working for your government or no longer represented, you can either delete, or if they have multiple roles and if they have been moved to another profile, like for example, some of the users represent the biosafety clearinghouse, they represent the Nagoya Protocol and the national reporting. So maybe they now do not represent the national reporting. So then the national focal point can modify here and then uncheck the roles that are no longer valid for the particular user. So the management is completely with the national focal point, and the new national focal point can change all the details as they are in the present. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Blaise. I see we have a hand raised from Oscar. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Alexis. Thank you, Blaise, for the presentation. I think it's very helpful. I will just have two questions. The first one is regarding the possibility to change the targets after the first report. I mean, if that's possible in the reporting tool, because we are facing through a public consultation. So in the time that is required, the reporting to fulfill the commitment of the COP16, it's kind of possible that something will change. And that's the first question. That's the first question. That's if we can change eventually the targets in the reporting online tool. The second one is regarding the indicators, because we are working on the indicators, specifically in the complementary indicators, that we are trying to provide more things to measure our targets. So we are not sure all the indicators that we can provide information, because we are exploring the national capacity to provide information. So it is needed to fulfill all the fields that the national reporting tool, or we also can change where the process is finished. I mean the national process finishes, we can come back to the platform and updating. I don't know if you understand all my two questions, but if you need more clarifications, just tell me. Thank you.
Yes, so from the tool perspective, you own the information. So like here, for example, I'm under my country targets. So this is what your country owns, and you can modify it as many times as you want. So even if after you publish, you have the option to modify it whenever you want to. So for example, right now I'm on part 1. Here we see I've created one draft information, and also see the list of my published information. I can just click on edit. And this will again take you to the edit section. You can modify modify the text here. Let's say, for example, I just add a line, save draft. Then you follow the same process of publishing. So if you go back, you will now see how you have 2 drafts, and then you publish the information, and this will be made published. And then after some time, if you have more information to modify, again, you can come back, modify the information, and publish it again. So you can use this cycle multiple times as you wish. Regarding the component indicators, again, from the technical side, the component in all the indicators are not mandatory fields, so you do not have to select anything right away. If you do not have the information, you can skip the information, and then whenever you have the information, you can come back and add that information. So even after you publish the target, once it's made available, you come back, you modify the information, and then you publish it again. But maybe if Jillian wants to add something here.
Thank you. That's super clear. Thank you very much.
Thanks. I think that, well, I'll start by saying a few things, which just to make it clear, and I think that Blaise has mentioned this. So right now, as you know, we only have 6 weeks before COP. And so this is really the time for parties to be submitting their national targets if they want to get them in before COP. And so on this, in terms of what we've seen so far, we have a few more than 60 countries that have submitted at least one national target. Most of these parties have submitted a national target for every GBF target. So this has really been the focus of what the documentation and the Secretariat have been encouraging people to submit, is the national targets aligned with the GBF. And so all of the information on the indicators is something that can certainly be added now, or it could also be added later. We have seen currently about half of the countries that have submitted have also included some sort of indicators, either component, complementary, national indicators. However, if you don't have time to do this now, or if you're still looking at it, you will be able to go back in and edit these targets at any time. So you don't have to worry about it being closed and you not having an opportunity to add them in later. And honestly, for COP16 on the Secretariat side, we're not going to do much analysis of those indicators. The analysis that I've just shared, where we're kind of saying how many countries have already indicated how they're going to monitor. I think this is really the extent of what we would be looking at, because obviously, if you are looking at your indicators, it gives you an idea of, it gives people who are reviewing your targets an idea of how you're going to monitor this. And so it's a great way to get started. But it certainly is not required. And so I think maybe I'll just leave it at that. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much, Jillian, for the clarifications. I'm just trying to be mindful of time. I think we can take one more question. I see that Guy has a hand raised. I think we can take that question. I see that there is a conversation in the chat happening between Jean-François and Ray. So thanks so much, Ray, for taking this. Guy, we can take your question and then we'll move to the second part of the demonstration. Please, Guy, go ahead.
Merci beaucoup. Merci. Je suis monsieur.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Guy Ganga, National Focal Point in Congo. I'd like to thank the presenters, but I wasn't there at the very start, but there are a few commentaries that I was able to follow. So I'd like to ask about the people who are authorized to submit the national reports. I'm telling myself that once you have been nominated as either the focal points of the convention or the two protocols, is this enough to be able to submit the national targets? Or is there one person that needs to accept or validate the different users so that they can submit the national reports? As you know, there are the focal points for the convention, and then there are focal points for the protocols. So which ones are really authorized to submit the national targets? Is it the focal points from the convention, or the protocols, or the portal? And who gives the authorization? Is it by an authority, or is it automatic? If that user has been recognized, or there's like a note somewhere that authorizes this person to submit it. So we have to submit the national reports by the 15th. Will it be enough for the analysis that will be at the COP? Is it going to be the deadline on the 15th of September? Do we have to? Usually we have to submit all of our targets by then, or can we just submit a few, only a few, if we don't have the necessary time on our hands to do all the analysis on other targets? So this is what I wanted to ask you today. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much, Guy.
Interpretation in English, or do you want me to quickly summarize the question?
Yes, Alexis, your voice is very low, but I did hear the question in English, but I can respond the first part, and then maybe for second part we'll go to Jillian. So the CBD has an offline process to nominate a national focal point. A country has to submit certain documents in order to nominate a national focal point. That is done separately by the country. And once that information is received and validated, the information is entered in our national focal point database. And at that same moment, the national focal point, an account for the national focal point is created in our system. And he is also granted rights over the online reporting tool to publish the information. So the question about which national focal point can access the national focal point to the convention is the only focal point who can access the online reporting tool and publish the information. The national focal point to the protocols, they do not have access to the online reporting tool. They only have access to the protocols clearinghouses. Yeah, so I hope I answered the first part, and then maybe for the second part, we can go to Jillian.
Is it in here? Yeah, thanks. So in terms of the timeline, as you maybe saw, there was a notification we sent out. We have just finished a first analysis of the targets that we received thus far. So this will be a background document for SBI. So this is based on those that were able to submit their targets before the 5th of August was when we ended up cutting it off because we just didn't have enough time. And so this is with the editors now. Then in terms of this information, though, we will be continuously updating it, and even up to COP, which is the deadline in 15/6, we will even be, we will be providing live information on how many targets have been submitted. There's a dashboard on the ORT that allows you to see, which maybe our Blaze could show you. This allows you to see how many countries have submitted targets, and that is updated continuously. And so, as you know, the deadline in decision 15/6 is COP, and so we are encouraging people to submit as early as possible so that we can include you in documentation. But the deadline is COP, and even at COP, we will have up-to-date figures because, as I said, there's a live dashboard that shows when targets are submitted.
Great, thank you so much, Blaise and Jillian, for the clarifications. I hope it's the question was answered. I'm mindful of time, so I'd like to move now to the second part of the demonstration. We have about 20 minutes for this and for any questions that participant may have. So Blaise, over to you again.
Okay, thank you. So once we go to the part 2, here you are able to provide national mapping with the global goals. So we get a list of all the global goals and targets. And you will be able to only provide national mapping information for global goals, where global goals and global targets, where you have aligned a national target. So in case if you do not have a national target that is aligned with a global target, you will not be able to provide this information. So for example, in my test account, I do not have a national target for target 9. So that's why it says like you do not have a national target. Either submit a national target or we can just move forward because maybe the information is not available at that point. In case if you have a national target, you will have the option to add a mapping. So you will have this add mapping information. In case if you've already provided the mapping information, you will see an edit mapping button instead of add mapping. So we'll just start with add mapping for one of our national global target. In this screen, it's again the same kind of screen that we previously saw for national target. Here we just have one option, one field, mandatory field to provide, which is the elements of global targets addressed by the national targets. Before that, just to give you an overview, and you need to know that which national targets this is aligned, this global target is aligned with. You will see all the national targets that have been aligned with this global target in this particular section. So if you have multiple, it will list all the national targets. Then you provide the elements of global targets. You get a similar kind of rich text editor. You can provide information. Then the next thing that you can do is provide a reference period for each of the headline indicators which fall under the global target that you are in. For example, for global target 10, we have two indicators: proportion for agriculture and progress towards sustainable forest management. This is a reference period question. So in case if you have a reference period for this headline indicator, you can answer yes. Once you say yes to this question, you will be provided another text box where you can provide the reference period uh, or any other information that you want to supplement your answer to. Once you do that, you follow the same process. We say save draft. And then again, you have the review option. The system is saying like we missed the mandatory information. Please add it, but I can still proceed and I can close. You can export the information in a PDF or print the information. We'll, for demo purposes, close the information. So you follow the same steps. So once you update the information and close the dialog, you will see that your information that we have entered is reflected on the previous screen, with all the information that you just entered. And then this button changed to edit mapping because we already now have a mapping, and then you can just modify it. So you follow the same process for all the 23 national global targets and 4 global goals. Once you finished information, to simplify things, we do also have similar filters where you can filter things. You can filter by the national target. So for example, if you want to just filter the global targets where this particular national target is linked, once you select this, you will see that we have 5 global targets where this particular national target is aligned. So it's just easy for you to work and focus on a particular global target or a global goal. So once we finished with all this information, so part 1 and part 2 is done, and this is when we go to the overview section. So the overview section is an overview of part 1 and part 2. This gives you again a list of all the national targets that you have, your country has. How many have been published, draft and request. So we created 2 national targets. So we have 2 drafts, and I have 7 published national targets, and we just created another global mapping. So I have a draft record. So you get an overview in one place. And then we get a list of all the national targets in the section, the first section. And in the second section, we get the list of all the national mappings in the second section. And here you see I have 1 draft record and 5 other published records. Similarly, I have 10 plus published national targets and 2 draft national targets. Now, what's important about this overview section is we expect countries to have more than like maybe 20 national targets and maybe 20 plus national mappings. And it's possible that you might miss mandatory information, and it might be very difficult to know which national target or national mapping is missing this mandatory information. So we made it a bit simple. So on the overview page, we have validate part 1, part 2. So this will validate all the information that you have submitted and make sure that there is no mandatory information missing. And if there is any mandatory information missing, it will highlight that particular record for you. So we'll just click on validate part 1, part 2. the system validated the information, and then we are missing some information from mandatory information. So we see here that our two of our national targets, they have passed the validation. So there's no problem with that. But if we scroll down to our national mapping, here the national mapping that we just created says like there's one failed validation. So once we click on the edit button for that national mapping, the system is now highlighting to us which mandatory field is missing. So if we click on this mandatory field, the system takes us to the field which is missing information. I will just add some text to answer this question, and then I click on review again. Now the system says the document is valid. We have provided all the mandatory information. We click on save draft. And then we click on close button. The moment we click on close button, the system will rerun the validation process. And now we see that the error the error that was highlighted has now been gone because we have provided all the mandatory information. So now if we click on validate part 1, part 2 again, it says that validation is successful and we have all the mandatory information that was required by the template. So then the next thing is you're ready now and you can go ahead and publish this information. So to publish this information, you can click on publish part 1 and part 2. When you click on part 1 and part 2, please note that this publish will only publish the information that is in draft mode. So for example, I have 2 draft records and 10 plus other published records. So now when I click on publish part 1, part 2, the system will only publish these 2 records and the draft record under the mapping section. So it's only going to publish these 3 records. So this is important to know. So this is to allow you to publish multiple information over the period. So now I'm going to click on publish part 1, part 2. So it is recommended for each country to submit national targets for each of the global target. However, we are not making it mandatory, but we are trying to highlight it as much as possible that you are missing a national target for global targets. So this is the screen that provides that information that you are missing, that I am missing national targets for 5 of the global targets, and it will list you all the national targets that's missing. It will list you all the global targets that is missing a national target. However, this is not a mandatory steps. You can still proceed to publish this information because maybe you do not have required information at the moment. So I select I still want to proceed. A similar warning box appears for part 1. The previous one was part 1. This is for part 2. I am missing national mapping for 19 of the global targets. Again, this is not mandatory. You can skip. So I will say I still want to proceed. Once I say I click that, this is a final confirmation that you are ready to publish. If I say yes, the system will start publishing all the information. This will take little time because right now I just have 3 records, but in your case, maybe you will have like 20 or 30 records. So it will take from 1 to 3 minutes to publish all the information. So I just want to highlight this message. So I have your request to publish your country's national targets and mapping have been received. So this means that because I'm a national focal point, I'm a publishing authority, the system is going to publish all the information right away. But if you are a national authorized user, you will get a little different message. You will get a message saying that your request to submit the publish the national target and mapping has been received and sent to your national focal point. Now he will have the option to either approve or reject the request. If he approves the request, all the information will be made available, will be made public. If he rejects the information, the national authorized user will be notified through an email saying that the national focal point rejected your request. Maybe the national authorized user will modify the changes that the national focal point wants, and then he will resubmit the information for validation by the national focal point. So like I said, like if you have like more records, 20 to 30 records, it will take from 1 to 2 minutes to publish all the information. So once you close this dialog, since I had just 2 records, you will see a status from moving from draft to lock to publish. So it will take a little while if you're staying on the same page. So now that we have these 2 records that have been published, and if we scroll down to the national mapping section as well, this record has also been published. Now, if we go to the all national targets section, we'll see all of our 3 records are available in the all national target section. So this means our national targets are now ready to be seen by any user in the world. So with this, we come to the end of the submission of national targets. I will quickly show how to use the national, the search section, and then we can take any questions. So on the all national targets, we have a filtering section where you can filter records based on what kind of information you want to see. So the record type is national target or national mapping based on what you want to see. Then you can filter by global targets. So this will filter all the national targets which are aligned with the global target that you select. For example, if I select target 4, it will just give me all the global national targets that are linked with global target 4. Similarly, I can filter by countries. I can select 1 or more. I can also select by regions. I can select African Union, and I just get all the records that have been submitted by African Union. I want to show like the moment I select some filters, please have a look at the URL. The filters that we select are automatically updated in your URL. So in case if you regularly do a certain type of filtering and then you have to come back every time to the online reporting tool, you don't want to redo the selection of the filters that you previously worked, you can always copy this URL. And then if you paste it next time you come, or if you bookmark the URL, and then if you paste it again, the system will remember your preferences, the selection. And then once you use the same URL, you'll notice that the system will pre-populate the selection that you already had made previously. So you can bookmark these URLs as the filters that you have selected based on the requirement. And recently we did release an analyzer. So for the analyzer, I will go to the live website so that we get to see a better dashboard. So the analyzer again has a similar filtering system. You can filter out information, and then the dashboard will be updated based on what filters you have selected. We have a nice map which represents which countries have submitted their national targets. We have some counts, and from each sections we have built certain kind of counts that will be helpful for you to view how people are submitting this information. So we have progress in target setting, and each of the sections that the count represents has like explicit information what that count represents. We have some counts that are grouped by global targets, so that you can see the information based on global targets. And finally, there is a, so we also have section for section C. Then there's a section for non-state actors. And then finally, there is a nice table where you can see overview of all the countries that have submitted national targets, and the number of national targets for each goal or global target. So here we see Austria has 37 national targets. They have 21 national targets aligned with global global goal A, while they have 16 national targets aligned with target 4. So it's a nice overview of the information that is provided through this analyzer. And I quickly want to show a last feature that we had released just this week, and which is subscribe to email alerts. So in case if you are interested in knowing or getting notified when some countries or some countries submit their national target, if you wish to receive an email, you can use this email alert section. It's available on the dashboard to subscribe to email alerts, or also under the user settings drop-down menu, email alerts. Here you can select the frequency of email that you wish to receive. The frequency is daily, weekly, monthly, or never. So daily will send you an email at the end of the day if there are any new national targets based on the filters that you wish to select. So the filters that you can do is you have the option to add an alert. My mouse battery just died, so here. So here you are, yeah.
Your screen is also just gone to the desktop. We're not seeing the tool itself. Okay, it's just coming back. But maybe this is a good point to pause. I know we're just trying to show how we're able to show alerting, but maybe let me pass it back as we're running out of time to open the floor for questions. I think we'd be very much interested to know if you still have any issues or if you've got clarifications from those joining the webinar. Back to you, Alexa.
Thank you so much, Ray and Blaise again. Yes, just being mindful of time and also the time of our interpretation team. I think we can take maybe one quick question, and then I think we'll have to close the meeting. I see that Elizabeth asked a question in the chat that was addressed by Ray already. Just would like to see if there is one question, one more from, I see Carlos Pereira, who is asking, in the chat, is it possible to propose indicators that we consider most appropriate in the country to monitor the national goal? There's a question from Carlos.
So on the proposed indicators, I mean, the headline indicators in the monitoring framework are really the indicators that are proposed for all countries to measure. So, and those are, as Blaise said, those are not even showing up as optional, because decision 15.5 and 15.6 specify that every country would be asked to monitor the headline indicators. So for goal A, the headline indicators that you have there are the red list of ecosystems, the red list, the extent of natural ecosystems, and there's an indicator on genetic diversity, for example. But each goal and each target have headline indicators that are associated with the goals and targets. Additionally, in decision 15.5, but this list is being updated under agenda item 10 of COP. There's a list of component and complementary indicators. And these provide a menu of options that you may wish to choose from when you're monitoring your goals and targets. The idea is that the component indicators really would give you an idea of how to cover each element or component of each goal and target. And so that would be a starting point. And then these complementary indicators provide much more detailed information that you may wish to use. And so that decision really would then provide you with a basis for choosing indicators for monitoring.
I see that there's one other question around timelines and just the clarity around timelines. So maybe you want to take that question as well, Jillian. There's a lot of dates being, there's a lot, just being specific about what we want by when.
So again, the decision 15.6 is the decision that outlines the timeline. So that decision requests all parties to submit their NBSAP, including the national targets, by COP16. But then it says right after, however, if you can't submit the full NBSAP, then submit the national targets. And so basically what this reflects is that even at the time where they set the deadline, it was acknowledged that many countries would need some more time for their NBSAP. And so the focus for the submission is very much on submitting national targets by COP16. Now, the deadline of August 1st is not a deadline at all. This was the Secretariat letting parties know that we have to prepare a document for COP and for SBI 5. And so we were just letting parties know that for that document, which is a global analysis, we will have to assign a cutoff because we have to meet a 6-week document delivery deadline. And so that deadline is actually already now. And so our document is already late if we don't get it up today. So this is the document deadline for us, for the Secretariat, for our documentation for COP. And so we were just saying that obviously we can only include things received before our deadline in our analysis, but that doesn't mean that doesn't change the deadlines for parties. The deadline for parties is established as COP16 in decision 15.6. Thanks.
Great.
Alexei, back to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. I see there is one more question from Guy, but I suggest that we're keeping track of all the questions being shared in the chat. And I suggest that we take note of Guy's question and then come back to Guy via email. And we will share with the Secretariat all the questions. I think now we are just a little bit over time, so we will have to close the session, end the session. I will ask my colleague, if Blaise, if you could stop sharing your screen so that my colleague Martina could share the last slides that we have. That would be wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Martina. So I'd like to thank, of course, everyone for your participation and great engagement during this webinar. I see that a lot of questions came through, which is what we actually expected. But I would like to express thanks also to the GEF for providing the funds for the project and the organization of such webinars, and also to our colleagues at UNDP, UNEP, and the Secretariat of the CBD for all the joint work so far. And of course, many thanks to Blaise, Jillian, and Ray from the Secretariat for providing great insights and useful information on the tool ahead of COP16. So if we could move to the next slide. So for further, if there are any more questions that you would like to ask to our experts, here you can see the relevant emails. So I suggest that you take note of these emails and reach out to our teams as needed. One more thing I wanted to mention is, as a reminder, all the recordings, the presentations, and also the Q&A document from this webinar and previous webinar will be made available on the NBSAP forum, but we will share all this information with you via email. And one last thing before we close the session, Once you end the session, you will receive a short survey, 1-minute survey to respond to. So we would really appreciate your feedback to assist us and to continue offering good quality webinars on relevant topics under the Early Action Support project with our partners. So once again, thank you so much for your time and hoping to see some of you in October. Thank you so much, everybody.